Hey, Reliability Gang, I'm Jonathan Guiney.
And I'm Brendan Russ, and welcome to Reliability Radio, a JLL production and ReliabilityWeb.com media brand.
So, Brendan, here at TRC, the Reliability Conference this year, 2025, what a beautiful week we have in Bellevue, Washington.
Yeah, it's a good crowd here, very engaged crowd. Of course, the utilization of technology, different systems at the forefront of the discussion this year.
Yeah, some pretty cool conversations over the last couple of days, but I want to talk a little bit about this morning about CMMS implementations gone wrong. You ever seen one, Brendan?
Never. Every single one of them has been flawless. There has never been a problem. All of the data transferred over. Every execution was perfect.
Don't even have to touch it. Don't worry about cleaning your data before you change systems, right, Brendan?
And everybody's expectations were met.
All the time.
All the time.
Every stakeholder.
Everybody
loved it.
Everybody knew what they wanted, and everybody got it.
So excited to talk to our guest this morning, John Dang from SAP. John, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So John, why don't you give the audience a little bit of an understanding of your background, kind of how you became an employee of SAP and what you do today?
Yeah. So I've been in the maintenance, reliability, asset management space for over a decade now. Started out my career as a maintenance engineer working in manufacturing operations. And I did that for 5 years, moved around the world within the steel manufacturing company that I was a part of. They paid for me to get a master's education in reliability engineering and asset management. From there, I kind of got tired of the operations life and then decided to go into consulting. So I did reliability consulting for a few years after that. And I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of traveling as well. And so I ultimately ended up on the software vendor side. So if you think of the triangle between the EAM vendor, the customer, and then the consultant, I've kind of touched on all three of that in that triangle.
So what is it exactly that you're doing right now for SAP? Like, walk us through a day.
Yeah. So my role with SAP is a senior solution advisor. So I'm responsible for demonstrating all of our asset management solutions. So that's basically understanding what the customer requirements are, and from there, understanding and mapping it to the capabilities of our solutions. And then from there, taking it to the demo stage where we show live software in front of the customer to see how it can meet their demands in maintenance and reliability.
So customer requirements, let's talk about that for a second. What's the craziest thing somebody's ever asked you to do within SAP?
That's a good one. I think a lot of customers, they use SAP, but they also have third-party systems. And so for a long time, it was crazy that customers wanted to integrate all of their knowledge bases into a single platform and have a chatbot, respond with all of their queries. Now that's possible, but 5 years ago, that was kind of a pipe dream. So at the time, that was a pretty wild request. So we had to, you had to get creative, but now it's obviously becoming a lot more of a reality.
Yeah, I mean, AI is everywhere. What are you guys doing with AI in SAP today?
We're fully invested in AI at SAP. If you've been following any of the quarterly announcements, we have embedded AI capabilities. So using machine learning to bolster capabilities for your maintenance reliability personas in the organizations, and then also generative AI, of course. Everyone has a co-pilot nowadays. SAP has a co-pilot as well, and so yeah, there's a lot going on there. It's always new developments. Every quarter it's releasing.
So when you're talking to your prospective customers and you're starting to get in there, understanding their expectations, right, requirements and expectations. I mean, are people being realistic, or are they still grounded in what CMMSs looked like 10 years ago?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of times customers aren't aware of the latest developments in a CMMS or an EAM system. And so they come in a little bit unprepared to ask the right questions or with the wrong expectations of what the latest features can do. And so, yeah, that's definitely a reality.
Does that create some kind of confusion for what you see is like, I want ABC. Well, you can do ABC, but there's F, there's L, and there's Q over here that are extensions or enhancements for this. Are you seeing any type of what I would consider like confusion or misunderstanding on the part of some of your clients that what they're thinking they're going to get and what they get don't necessarily match because times and technology have changed?
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion. I think typically with organizations that look for software, there's kind of two sides to it. There's the business side, which is the end users, and then there's the IT side. And oftentimes you see a lot of misalignment between the IT side and the business side, where IT is actually providing the software vendors the recommendations for what the business needs, but a lot of times they don't talk to each other. And so that's where the confusion starts to come up. And so you have misalignment on the business side, you have misalignment on the IT side, and by the time it gets to us, where we're presenting to the business, they're like, wait a minute, this is not what we need. Well, as the software vendor, I'm like, this is what was presented to us by your IT team. This is the 1,000-list RFP requirements. And so a lot of times you'll get in it, the demonstration with the customer, and they'll see the demonstration, and they're like, this isn't what we need, this isn't what we asked for, this isn't kind of the situation that's we see on the shop floor. And well, that's where the confusion comes from, that misalignment.
And then how many times do you see those end users on the shop floor just trying to make your system the way that they used to be in the other system?
Yeah. Of course, there's always a resistance to change, right? We like what we're familiar with. A good example of this is my Microsoft Teams updated the other day. The layout updated, and I immediately went, what is going on? Even as a software vendor, right? We provide updates very regularly. My Teams interface updated, and I immediately went, I don't like this. I need to figure out in the settings how you revert back. How do you revert back to the old layout? Because that was what I was comfortable with. And so, of course, even being a software vendor, I'm a little resistant to change in my daily applications as well. So now if you imagine you're upending a whole legacy system, a whole user interface, a whole user experience, maybe even changing the work processes, of course, that resistance is going to be high because there's going to be a lot of training needed. And of course, all of that will impact adoption and impact data, impact strategy at the end of it all.
So you've got one huge opportunity to do something big, right? You're talking about changing systems from a legacy to a net new. What are some of the things that clients and users should start thinking about now to prepare themselves for these conversations? But two, what opportunity do they have during the transition to really enhance the way that they work? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, to manage their expectations for the software vendor, it's important to understand their own processes first and what systems map and help carry out those processes. A lot of times there's not that clear alignment between process and system, which system supports what. And so if we can be able to understand the processes, the systems that is in the current state, as a customer, they can then go into the new software solutions provider and understand now their processes, how that maps to the new application, what that new application is going to replace for the legacy systems. A lot of times there's a lot of misunderstanding on what maps where, what system is replacing what. And so that's one of the things they could do to prepare.
So over the last two questions, I've heard the same answer about misalignment. Internal misalignment of expectation or process or goals, and also misalignment between the actual process of performing work. So when we're going through there, it sounds like it's pretty typical, right? There's always a miscommunication or misalignment. Does this provide you an opportunity to help push forward a vision of the future using your systems?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Misalignment is everywhere. Kind of one of the ways we approach our demos is we make sure the right stakeholders are a part of the conversation from the start of it. Not always is that the case with different customers, but we, as much as possible as solution advisors and just as a software vendor in general, what we try to do is we try to get IT in the same room as the business users, as the architects, from both sides, right, of everyone at the table. And so that way, the expectations are aligned, the conversations are going on before we even get to the demonstration stage. That way, when we get to the demonstration stage of the software, everyone's on the same page, everyone understands what's being shown, why it's being shown, what requirement is it meeting, and how it's going to benefit and add value for them as the customer.
Do people understand how important that is to have those end users in those conversations early? Or do you see a lot of resistance there with different organizations?
I actually find that end users want to be a part of that conversation. Typically, these kind of initiatives are IT-led. IT is driving what we need to upgrade to, who the solutions providers are for that system that we need to upgrade to. And a lot of times, for one reason or another, maybe the end users are more focused on running the day-to-day, They're maybe doing a lot more firefighting, so they're too busy to be a part of that conversation, but they want to be a part of that conversation. So a lot of times when we meet with the customers, there's a lot of dialogue between their internal IT and themselves and saying, why weren't we a part of this before we got to this demo stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think if, for all of our listeners out there, I think it's really important to like do a little self-reflection, look at your team, like you said, your business processes, understand what's important to you, make sure you bring in the stakeholders, not the highest level people in the organization, the people that are actually going to use it on the shop floor, get their understanding, because those are the guys that deal with this stuff every single day. They understand the idiosyncrasies of how things work and how efficiently or inefficiently systems are, right? They can feed a lot of information into the solution.
So what's next for SAP?
A lot. Obviously, everyone's kind of rushing to implement AI into their solutions, generative AI. Kind of what's next for SAP is, AI for the sake of AI is not going to add any benefit. The kind of foundation of AI is the data foundation that it accesses and that it translates into useful and insightful, actionable data and information for the customer. So really, SAP is investing a lot, not only in the AI technologies, but also the underlying data foundation for it. Creating a data cloud that unifies not only SAP data, but non-SAP data, integrating external knowledge bases, and then mapping relationships between all of that data so that generative AI can be more insightful.
So bringing everything into SAP as a structured data warehouse so you can actually pull to make insights.
Yes. Not only bringing it into SAP, but also integrating to external systems as well. And so we maintain that data integrity, data privacy as well for the customers.
Awesome. As we start to wind down this episode of Reliability Radio, is there any parting words or insights you want to give to the audience?
AI is the future, but I encourage everyone to look at their processes, because that's how data is generated. And so the better aligned your end users are to their processes, the more they adopt the technologies that help generate the data that feeds into AI, the more useful, the more value that those AI technologies is going to bring for your organization at the end of it all.
And don't forget about the data, right? That data quality piece
crucial.
is huge.
Exactly.
Sage advice. Well, thank you, John, for joining us today. And for all you listeners out there, please join us next time on Reliability Radio.